Someone was singing.
Well, that's the beginning of the episode. Um, welcome back. We're going to carry on painting the Red Gobbo and his bouncer Squig. We're getting pretty far with it now. I'm going to do some silver, and there's still a lot to do, but it's looking pretty good. If I wanted it just to be like battle ready, I could just go like contrast paints, but
Could you point the squig at the camera so he's like looking at the camera? Thank you. He looks like a beholder.
oh, he does. Yeah, I mean, I've painted over his eyes.
Because of the nose.
Right now, he doesn't have eyes because they're red.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they will be coming back. He'll get some eyes.
No, it's just because of the nose. It looks like that's his one eye.
I kind of like that. Maybe I should draw an eye on it. Right, Rune Fang. Maybe I'll do that.
Make it just an eyeball instead.
I don't think I will because I want it to be a bauble, but that's not the point. I could.
Yeah, I could if I wanted to. Not gonna, but I could.
Paintbrush? Tiny paintbrush, I think.
Speaking of, I could if I wanted to. Should we talk about the Imperial Webway project?
Ooh. Best decision ever.
I mean, it was a good idea, executed poorly, essentially. Speaking of executed poorly, the Emperor, am I right?
He's not dead yet.
Exactly, executed poorly. Fucking Horace can't finish a job. There's more
than just Horace who can't either.
Not really. Like,
and none of them get the shot.
We'll get there.
Can't say this stuff and then not like tell me about it.
So, I want to get to the Horus Heresy. A lot of it will be ignored, like the early stuff, and we'll basically talk about Horus and the Emperor and how he ended up in the throne. I'd like to get to that by the end of this this set. So
you're confident.
Well, I'll skip stuff basically. Luckily for the Emperor, a special artifact had been found on Terra in a desert. The Golden Throne.
The Golden Throne. I know about that.
Yeah. With it, he planned to use it to enter and like adjust and reuse and reshape the webway.
Right.
To use to directly transport things between all the worlds of the Imperium.
And then he doesn't have to use the warp, and
he would essentially make a whole load of warp gates, all bound together on all the different planets, and essentially that would allow humanity to advance in so many different ways. It's more efficient. You don't have the chaos warp shit.
Yeah.
It's a lot, it's not dangerous like the other ways to travel. It's great.
Except
the main objective for it was that interstellar travel via ships and stuff was essentially the last dependence that humanity had on the warp.
Right.
So with them not like folding through the warp, with them not having many psykers, and the last need for psykers gone, it would essentially cripple the need for navigators and
Astropaths, and
astropaths,
yeah, because it would be really quick, wouldn't it?
it basically means that all reason for the warp to exist, for humanity at least, kind of disappears.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a good jumping off point to essentially be like, well, there you go. You know, I don't need the warp. Let's carry on my everyday life. Yes, I may be a psyker, but I don't need to use it. So, bleh.
So do something else.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I'll be a baker.
Bake. Candlestick maker.
So the Emperor, about 200 years through the Great Crusade, was like, "Hey boys, Horace, hey, Magnus, hope you're still not using psyker sorceries. Just checking. Yeah, So anyway, I'm going home. You guys keep doing good work. Horace, you're in charge. Don't do anything I wouldn't do."
Don't do crimes. Don't betray me.
Yeah, he really should have said that instead of "don't do anything I wouldn't do."
Yeah, because I mean,
Because the Emperor quite happily will destroy entire worlds.
yeah, and he's got them into trouble a bunch of times.
And he lies a shitload.
Yeah, he lies all the time. So
Ugh,
excuse you.
pardon me. So essentially, it was the human webway project. It was a webway project for humanity, for the Imperium. It was essentially like carving out a section for them,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
pretty good.
Sounds good.
It also means that even if there was a warp storm again, they could still stay connected.
Yeah, because they don't have to
Yeah.
like jump through or worry about escaping and everything.
And it was essentially like, I don't know, it was gonna be like the culmination of his work pretty much. Because once he gets that done, all the sacrifices and all the things kind of are worth it, you know?
Were the Chaos Gods not like, bro, this can't happen though?
I mean, they don't really have the I mean, they do, but
Because I mean, they impacted when it suited them with the Sorry, I keep trying to sort the camera out with the
Primarchs?
Primarchs.
Well, unless it wasn't them.
It was them.
But
They
what if it
told me,
wasn't?
but they told me, so
Oh, okay.
I was there.
Well, in that case, the Emperor increased his protection on Terra after that because he was like, "Oh, damn, they got through my firewall. I better update my drivers."
Yeah, that's true. He did do that. It's like a 4-digit pin instead of 3. We talk shit.
There you go, guys.
sometimes.
If you're having internet security problems, just increase the number. Is your password 5 letters and a number? Make it 6.
6? How do you ever remember it?
Well, you just put an S on the end.
Whoa.
So it was Bean, and now it's Beans.
Can't you just told everyone my password?
Sorry.
This is a silly conversation.
Yeah, I mean it's not the first, and it won't be the last.
No. What did I skip? No, I'm fine. Okay. Stormhost Silver Time. First time I've used this color.
So,
So.
the Golden Throne was like Dark Age of technology. Obviously, the old ones came first. They built the webway. The Eldar came later. They used the webway.
Mm-hmm.
It was designed to be like gold, psychically reactive. Um, essentially it acted as the almost like the dial-up thing for a Stargate.
Yeah.
And yeah, they
What the
they
the
they found
psychers
it.
did, or sorry, you said psychic. Wow, psychically reactive. And the
Yes,
gate was just supposed. So the actual golden throne was the dial-up.
was part of these like huge gates,
Okay.
which was essentially it was a webway portal.
Right.
Um, while okay, so it's important to note that the Emperor was really kind of shitty to the Primarchs. He didn't tell them where he was going. He didn't tell them why.
Yeah.
He didn't tell them about demons. He didn't tell them about psychic powers and like even with Magnus. And I'll do my best not to get into a rant. With Magnus, he told him not to do it. He didn't tell him why, because he thought the temptation to do it would be so big that he'd do it regardless when he told him.
Yeah, which is just stupid.
Um, there's a really good quote. See if I can find it. Ah, yes. So that's covered up slightly. That's annoying. Okay, so Lorgar, who we will get onto another time because he's much more Horus Heresy.
Mm-hmm.
But the opening lines of his book that he wrote, yes, he did kind of write an autobiography or something. It's called the Book of Lorgar.
So many of them
Uh,
are like either have mega dramatic quotes or have written a book.
mm. But this is a good example of like what the Emperor did to his sons, basically.
Sorry, just the way you said that reminded me of a book where it's like what's it? What so and so did?
Um,
My brain's like Jenny did. I don't know. Anyway,
does,
it's like a classic.
okay. So the quote from Book of Lorgar: "All I ever wanted was the truth. Remember those words as you read the ones that follow. I never set out to topple my father's kingdom of lies from a sense of misplaced pride. I never wanted to bleed the species to its marrow, reaving half of the galaxy clean of human life in this bitter crusade. I never desired any of this, though I know the reasons for which it must be done. But all I ever wanted was the truth."
Oh, Daddy-o.
And that's after he's gone like super evil and
Yeah.
traitor and that type of thing. It's like, yeah, no, that's one of the core issues with the Emperor is he never told them shit, and he never trusted them enough to allow them to be tested. So when they were tested, they were ignorant of the test.
Yeah. That's why it's just a bad dad. Bad dad.
So like as they found out about these things, and as they slowly got corrupted, some of them, and then they started to turn traitor. We know what happened to Angron. Well, you and me know what happened to Angron.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Magnus, and others as well, who we'll definitely get into. Um, the Emperor was on Terra, sitting on the Golden Throne, essentially constructing the Imperial Webway.
Right. Okay. So he had to be there and not sort of engaged in everything that was happening elsewhere, I guess.
Yeah, essentially, the parts of the webway that had already been constructed were made of a material they didn't have and didn't have the ability or technology to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So the new sections of the webway that were being built, the Emperor had to shield himself psychically.
Right.
Which means that... Which basically meant that he couldn't leave the Golden Throne while they were building parts of the Imperial webway. And it's why he had to leave the Great Crusade to the Primarchs and to Horus.
Trusted them one time. And then this happens.
Yeah. So we won't go into it. The Ulanor Crusade and the Orkwar. Oh, sorry, Orkwar. But essentially, there was there was a big victory. They did well, and the Emperor was like, "Okay,
Good job, team.
good job. You can do this, Horus. You're in charge. You're my favorite." Again, like I think he literally said that in front of others.
That is so mean.
you know how parents will be like, I love you all equally. I don't have a favorite.
Except for you, Magnus. You're the best one. Not
Yeah.
Magnus.
Horus.
Horus. I bet Magnus was
Like,
there though. Like, oh.
The emperor's like, yeah, I'll lie about loads of shit unless it's a really bad idea, in which case I'll tell the truth. You know? Yeah, I don't love you all equally. Fucking Angron, you can just go and die. But Horus is great. I love Horus. It's like, wow, okay, cheers. It makes sense. He was the first one found.
Yeah.
And he was the one who like fought alongside the Emperor for ages. They literally fought side by side in combat and saved each other's lives multiple times.
I know, but you still.
So they kind of had like a bromance, father-son connection thing going on.
Yeah.
And so therefore Horus felt that the Emperor felt that Horus would be the one to lead, that he'd be the best one. Gave him the rank of War Master, which was essentially the leader of all military forces in the Imperium. Like he was the top only for the Emperor. And he was like, okay, you can finally show me how you're all good leaders while I'm away. And it's like they've been leading for 200 years. But okay.
Thanks, Dad.
He made the Council of Terror, the Imperial Tithe, which is essentially like give us troops for the Imperial Guard. Although I believe they were called the Astra Solaris or something like that. And also like raw materials, soldiers, etc. It's essentially like this is how much each planet has to give us.
Yeah, just a normal tithe, isn't it?
Yeah. Except for two different. This is just like a small little thing, but the Space Marine homeworlds and the Forge worlds of the Mechanicus don't usually provide tithes.
Oh, because the Space Marine homes are just like proper breeding grounds for them, right?
For Space Marines.
Yeah, so like they're never gonna not tithe, are they?
Yeah, and the Mechanicus are kind of like an extraneous authority, so they get like a tax break.
Yeah.
They essentially have an offshore bank accounts.
Oh dear.
So he kind of set everything up so it could run without him, and then secluded himself in the Imperial Palace to sit on the throne and
Chill out.
start up the Webway project.
Yeah. Always needs a project. Why don't you just buy a second house?
He, well, yeah. He also moved control of the like the Primarchs weren't on the War Council. They didn't make the war decisions anymore. They didn't make any governmental decisions anymore. They were basically told what they needed to do and sent to go do it.
Oh.
Also, yeah, like everyone loved Horus. Horus was like one of the better liked Primarchs by basically all of them. Even the Primarchs like who were, well, maybe not Kurz. There's a few Primarchs who were still edgy and emo and just hated everything. But yeah, no. Like for the most part, everyone loved Horus.
You went off on a sidebar then a little bit. But yeah, so they went in the decisions and all kind of sad. And
Yes.
okay.
And because the Primarchs were already susceptible to the warp and to corruption, these like, and also, you know, a lot of them had issues, you know, moments like Angron had with the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, ow.
They're just
Sorry.
the little embers that the Chaos Gods basically went and just blew, you know, like fanned a little bit. Which essentially led to, and also there's a whole thing with Horus, but we'll do it properly when we talk about the Horus heresy itself properly, because there's a lot in that, and there's a lot of fun things we can go into there. So I was watching you painting, and I did the perspective was such that I couldn't see the rope bauble thing that you were
Painting, yeah.
painting. I thought you were like pushing in and out hesitantly.
Oh no, I was painting like the tiniest little light.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, it wasn't visible, so it looked like you were like, oh nope, like, you know.
Yeah, it's difficult getting all this like super neat, and this is just the base colors. I'm not even like, there's still baubles on the base that I need to paint, and a grenade, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is much more detailed than you think, like at first glance. And then you realize how many colors are going into it, and like, oh, it will be good. And it better last forever. I'm never painting this again.
So, the Horus Heresy.
The Horus Heresy, yeah.
We won't go too deep into it, especially the start of it. We'll focus on the end.
Why?
Well, because essentially, like, there's a lot to the Horus Heresy. I think there's 11 books, but those are just like the core books. I think there's a lot more other books.
But this is why you recap it for me, so I don't have to read those.
Yes, but if we were to go over the we'd need, like, if we were to go over the basics of the Horus Heresy, I'd need another couple of hours probably.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm about, like, for example, I could say that when the Horus Heresy started, Lorgar was already a traitor.
Right.
I think Mortarion may have been considering it, and essentially there's this guy who was part of the Word Bearers who was with Lorgar called Erebus, who was like full on like chaos worshipper.
Oh.
And he caused, like, he very possibly stole a sword that ended up in the hands of a demon that stabbed Horus and almost killed him.
What?
He then turned up and was like, yo, what's up? I can fix you. Performed a ritual to save him at the begging of the sons of Horus, Horus's legion, which essentially gave Horus a vision of the future and told
Oh,
him that the emperor was going to be an evil dictator god.
and that's why he.
And that's why it all started.
Ooh,
Now, in all of that, I'd
there's a
love to
lot of
go into more
questions.
detail, but yes, there's a lot of questions, right? Which is why I'm like, we can save that for when we do an episode on the Horus Heresy, because I can go into details on it.
It's sorry, I didn't realize how blurry it was. It's hard because everything is so intertwined, obviously, and like if we're
Yeah.
going into detail about one thing or like one group, it happens all the time where you mention something and I'm like, well, I don't know who that person is or what they did or why is this relevant or um
Do you want to? It's hard because technically speaking, we should talk about this in depth
yeah,
on the
we'll talk about it in depth.
Lorgar
Like I can wait
episode.
with Horus.
Well, this is a Lorgar thing. Do you want to know why Lorgar turned away from the Emperor and basically became a traitor?
He killed his wife.
No. So, Lorgar worshipped the Emperor as a god and was
Yeah.
like,
Like converting everyone. Did the Emperor tell him like, no, that's bad. Go on a
well,
timeout.
so like the Space Marine chapters were very Space Marine legions were very uh independent.
Yeah.
They'd go off and conquer places and all this type of thing. Uh, essentially, Lorgar thought the Emperor was a deity worth worshipping.
Yeah.
He was very, very religious, and he had that kind of like vibe to him. What happened was he was taking a lot longer than everyone else.
To do
We
anything.
we touched on this.
Yeah.
To like conquer worlds, he was moving a lot slower. So the Emperor and a couple of others were like, okay, what the fuck's happening here?
Mm.
They investigated it and found out that they were essentially teaching people to worship the Emperor and like erecting massive churches and like just taking their time, and they're being really slow about it. So
Churches
not
are
only
illegal.
I know. Not only was Lorgar like breaking the law, he also was a lot like he wasn't doing his fucking job anyway. Like he was being really slow and he wasn't conquering worlds and bringing them into the Imperium.
Yeah.
So the Emperor gathered Malcador, the Sigillite. Malcador's like the best buddy bro of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Also a very powerful psycho. The Ultramarines and Reboot Gilliman. They took them all to like a really beautiful world that Lorgar had brought into the Imperium, and then brought the. This is while they were on the planet. The Emperor forced through strength of will with psychic abilities the entire legion to kneel.
And he's not a god. All right, bro.
He then said that the entire legion and also obviously Lorgar had failed him and failed what they were supposed to be doing, failed the Great Crusade, failed the Imperial Truth,
Oh.
and essentially shamed them all in front of the Ultramarines and Malcador and and everyone.
Yeah.
And then ordered the bombardment, destruction of the city that they had just made.
Aw.
And he's like, fuck you, Lorgar.
I got this for you, Dad. I'm sorry.
Upon which point, a couple of corrupted people. One of them was the chaplain of the word bearers. The other was the captain of the word bearers. They basically said, "Hey, Lorgar, do you remember those gods that the people on your world worshipped? Should we go and see if they're real?" So Lorgar was like, "Yeah, bet, let's go see." And do you know who the people on his home world worshipped? The one where he landed?
Was it Zinch?
It was just chaos. They
Just
worshipped the
chaos,
chaos
just
gods.
general
Yeah.
chaos. Cool. Yeah, cool.
So a whole load of shit happened.
Yeah.
Basically, like we have the Lorgar going off and discovering the chaos gods. A whole load of other things. Horus getting stabbed. Magnus getting his vision and finding out that all this shit was going to happen, and about the traitors and everything, and then deciding to go and pay a visit to dear old dad and prove to him that psychic powers were cool, and
fucking up the
he
made a mistake.
Right through the
Yeah.
the shield that the Emperor had put up.
Yeah, he's just been working on it for what, several hundred years or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
There
was a few massacres. The drop site massacre of Istvan 5. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of betrayal. Originally, there were 4 legions who were there were 4 legions who were traitors, and there were like 8 legions. I told you a bit of this in one of the episodes.
You did. Yeah.
I think was it the Angron one? Because I think Angron was involved in the.
Yeah, I think it was the Angron one.
Yeah, so we've talked a bit about the drop site, but it'll be in the Horus Heresy chat as well. We won't go into it quite now. Essentially, a lot of the Space Marine legions, a lot of the Mechanicus, a lot of the Imperial Guard, like not quite half or more than half, but a massive amount of the Imperium sided with Horus.
Yeah, I mean everyone likes him.
Yes, that helped, and not many people appreciated the Emperor in their way. They didn't really like him, I don't think.
Oh, because there's a D-bag. What's he done for us lately?
Right?
Apart from, trying to figure out this webway situation. Sorry, I'm off camera. Webway situation, but whatever. I don't know about that.
So, essentially, the Emperor, because of the destruction, the breach of the webway, the Emperor had to protect Terra, specifically Terra, not the webway anymore, from demons.
Yeah.
He would do his best, but it would start to wear on him. At around this time, a powerful demon was birthed in the warp. Won't worry about that right now. And essentially, there were Imperial forces fighting in the webway, trying to protect the Imperial part of the webway. And like Horus was on his way with his invasion force to attack Terra.
Yeah.
So
all happening at once.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the emperor got his Sisters of Silence, the Blanks, to go and essentially kidnap psykers all around the galaxy and sacrifice them to the Golden Throne to power it without the Emperor.
Oh, okay.
which
Bitch.
let him leave the Golden Throne and go into the webway to help rescue his forces that were running away.
Right. Hmm.
There's also this bit where he confronted the recently born demon or recently birthed demon or whatever.
Yeah, whatever
Uh,
they do.
he confronted it, kind of like subdued it slightly, and then sealed it inside one of his uh custodians.
Oh, what? That's not very nice.
This demon was like specifically designed, I think, to assault Earth. So,
I mean, for the custodian.
well, like he said to the custodian, essentially, run into the webway, run away, and just keep running until you can't run anymore. So, um, he then sealed the webway portal on Terra after bringing his forces back in, and he had to he had to seal it and keep it sealed. Essentially, a little bit he kind of became Hodor, you know, like hold the door.
Yeah.
He had to sit there on the throne and keep it closed at all times. If he didn't, like the doorway had been made.
Yeah,
If he
it's
doesn't hold the
stuck.
door closed, then it gets opened and demons come through.
Well, shit.
Like, and yeah, and not only did the webway project fail, he was now a prisoner on the Golden
On the
Throne.
Golden Throne. Oh,
And you know,
Magnus.
he was probably sitting on the Golden Throne, sitting there being like, man, how could this be any worse? I'm gonna have to sit here bored for my entire life, holding off demons. And little did he know, and
Everyone's worshipping him.
well, little did he know there was going to be a worse form of that,
Hmm.
where he's basically dead. Um,
So is that why they also have to add astropaths and psykers to him so that he can basically keep sustained through that? Because is it taking too much?
um,
Is this a question you don't know the answer to?
yeah,
This is how I do.
well, okay, so at this point, the Emperor was like, humanity is doomed. Well, but actually, he said the Imperium of Man was doomed. To be fair,
Oh.
he said whether it's in a year or 10,000 years, at some point, the Imperium will fall. Essentially.
Yeah.
As the war carried on, I think it was like 7 years or so from the start to the point where he got to Terra.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor had to stay on the Golden Throne.
That whole time.
There were a few moments where Malcador, his mate,
Yeah.
could jump on and hold things, but like he's not as powerful. He's not as powerful as the Emperor, so he can't do it for very long. Only the Emperor really can manage it. And that continued until the very climax of the Horus Heresy, where, in a desperate ploy for victory, because essentially Horus was sieging Terra, it wasn't going amazingly, and there were reinforcements coming from loyal Space Marine legions. Horus decided to desperately try and bait a trap, where he lowered the void shields on his flagship,
Yeah.
and essentially said to the Emperor, "Come and fight me, bitch."
Come and get me. Bet you won't.
So the Emperor said, "Malcador,
Go get him.
jump on this throne, hold the
Oh.
demons back. I'm gonna go fuck up my son."
Yeah.
The Emperor led an attack on the
Flagship.
flagship with the Imperial Fists and Rogel Dawn, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists, the Blood Angels, and Sanguinius, the Primarch of the Blood Angels, and Imperial Guardsmen and everyone else, and Custodes as well. Once they got on board, they were split up. They all had to fight through, like demons and soldiers and etc. And Sanguinius got there first to Horus.
Oh.
Now, Sanguinius was probably Horus's best friend. Or was. He had also just finished fighting a Bloodthirster.
Yeah.
He won, but he got
It
pretty
was
heavily
messed up. It
battered.
was tired and.
You know Bloodthirsters.
I don't think so.
Bloodthirsters are like the Balrog in Lord of the Rings.
Right. Okay.
That's a Bloodthirster, basically. Unfortunately, the Emperor, also fighting his way to go confront Horus, when he turned up, there was chicken feathers everywhere.
What?
Sanguinius had angel wings.
Oh, okay. Doesn't anymore.
Yeah, no, Sanguinius got fucking bodied by Horus.
Of course he did.
The problem is that even though the Emperor was the most ridiculously powerful psyker, everything like superhuman, like Horus was a Primarch. He was one of the stronger Primarchs, maybe,
And he was trained with the Emperor all the time.
Well, and he was also empowered by all four of the Chaos Gods. So he's not like he wasn't like the champion of Slaanesh. He wasn't champion of Tzeentch. He was champion of all four of them, giving him their powers and giving him knowledge and skill and power and just motherfucker went Super Saiyan,
Yeah.
They had a fight.
What, the Emperor and he?
The Emperor and Horus, yes.
Right.
Horus ripped one of the Emperor's arms off and shattered his organs.
What? Okay.
Because the Emperor couldn't quite bring himself to kill Horus with his he probably could with his psyker abilities, most likely, maybe. He had a better chance, but he couldn't quite get through to it. Then so this is a bit where it kind of changes and could be this, could be that. Essentially, a loyal soldier managed to make his way to the bridge where this fight was happening, and Horus literally used sorcery to skin him alive. Just ripped his skin off with chaos sorcery.
Okay.
And the Emperor was like, "Hey now, that's a bit much, bro.
That's illegal. I said so."
So plus the moment Horus kind of
it was distracting, wasn't
diverted his attention, the Emperor was like, "Maha!" The Emperor fired a disgustingly strong psychic attack directly at Horus, killed Horus instantly, and yeeted his soul from existence.
Poor Horus.
So not only was Horus dead, he could never return.
Yeah, because with it would have ended up in the warp, right? And they would have helped him out after. He could have coalesced.
And right in the middle of this attack as it's like hitting Horus and like erasing his existence. All of the corruption that had been brought upon Horus through the rituals and through chaos and everything was
No.
released.
No. I don't want you to say it.
So, for a split second before Horus was destroyed, he realized what had happened and what he had done under the corrupting influence of chaos, and was like kind of grateful for, you know,
Yeah.
being released. Then Dawn turned up, and he was like, grumble, straight faced emperor dying, should get him out of here. So he ran with the emperor all the way down to Malkador,
Hanging out Malkador.
who was slowly turning into ash. He was Mr. Emperor, I don't feel so good.
Oh. Threw the Emperor on the throne. Get out of the way, Malkador.
Just the effort of keeping the demons back, like keeping the portal closed.
Yeah, was
the gates closed. Had essentially destroyed his body and mind almost to the point of like having nothing left.
Wow.
The Emperor told Dawn, who was quite good with like mechanical stuff and things, how to modify the Golden Throne. So that it would essentially keep the remaining aspect of him, like his cells, his body, from slipping to death, but it wouldn't keep him alive.
Right.
It would essentially hold him from the death that was approaching for him.
And they need to figure it out later.
Additionally, the only reason he got to that point was Malkador transferred whatever remaining spark he had left to maintain the Emperor for a little longer.
Oh.
So
he was
that
the first one.
Yes, he was. It gave him enough time to alter the Golden Throne and make it into a life support machine.
Stupid dad Emperor.
So it also allowed the Emperor to basically maintain and become the Astronomicon, fight the Chaos Gods in the Warp, stop them from incurring, breaking through onto Terra, and basically like just maintain everything. The problem is like, to do all that he needs power, and as they just seen, a psyker can transfer their power over.
Just like fuck it.
So
no one likes the Imperium of Man anyway.
From here on, the Emperor requires 1,000 psykers every day.
Where'd they even get that number from?
Well, it's a rough, like, you know, it's like you look at your phone and it tells you how much battery's left. You're like, you know, okay, I need to
1,000 psykers. Oh. Well.
So essentially, the Emperor is a mind inside a body that is decaying at a glacial slow pace.
Yeah.
He's essentially entombed in a mummy, pretty much.
Well, why don't they just get a new emperor?
Yeah,
That's a joke.
I mean, you know.
Joke.
Yeah. So.
Everyone gets mad.
Essentially, like, the Emperor knew that if he died, then Terra was screwed, the Imperium was screwed, and very possibly mankind was screwed.
Yeah.
Like if Terra falls, there's not really anyone or anything. Like the Primarchs aren't going to do a good job. Most of them are evil. Well, like half of them are evil. So and this is where it gets bad for him. He sacrificed himself to ascend to protect mankind. That's some fucking god shit.
This is why people think he's a god.
That's where the Imperial Cult comes along.
Great.
Essentially, it's like, it's kind of hard not to be like, yo, fucking god, man. So, this is where the Emperor becomes the God Emperor, and the problem with it is, well, from the Emperor's point of view, it kind of works.
What, being a god?
Yeah, but, well...
I mean, it all makes sense.
So, essentially...
I mean, he's not aware of it, really, so... It's like he can be mad about it.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his mind, even still. Like, he has a lot to keep a handle on, even when he's in his kind of, like, mummified state.
Yeah, he's busy. He's looking after the warp.
No one's really sure how much he's conscious. But what I mean is the worshipping of the Emperor as a god kind of works in battling chaos. It's very possible it's making him stronger.
Right.
And it's very definite that the way to fight chaos isn't to be atheist.
Yeah, because he already tried that.
Yeah, it isn't to be ignorant and basically like screw religion. But worshipping something else gives you the strength to resist the temptation a lot more. So they're all kind of,
lean into that.
It's a whole big thing where.
Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. There is the Emperor. Like he's there. And the thing is if he dies, the Astronomicon stops working. It will be even more dangerous to travel through the warp.
Yeah. Because
the Imperium would become fractured and isolated and would fight itself.
Because he would even support as like the next big.
Yeah. The majority of the fighting forces of the Imperium, like the Imperial Guard, follow the Imperial Cult. They believe he is divinity. And that's how they fight. Like, that's how they fight against Tyranids.
Yeah.
They don't fight them because they're brave. They fight them because they have belief.
They believe they can beat them because their gods, like, oh no, wants them to, needs them to.
And we won't go into any specifics, but there's a few details of like miracles occurring from Imperial subjects who pray enough and believe enough and worship enough.
Because the orcs made it happen.
Well, yeah, that's the other side of it. Is one of the theories on why the Emperor isn't dead when he should be is that the orcs don't believe he can die, so he doesn't.
That works out perfectly. Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, or fortunately, depending on your position, as time went on, all of the as time went on, all of the Primarchs kind of disappeared because for Games Workshop, it's not super fun to have like superhuman good
Ultra,
guys.
ultra, ultra strong. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And well, so there is one Primarch who's around now.
Yeah.
Gulliman. He
Gilman.
he almost died 10,000 ish years ago.
Right. I thought you were going to say 10,000 ish times.
Yeah. No, he basically got a similar treatment where he was put on life support.
Right.
But he was resurrected and he's now alive. And
And he's
he
angry.
he looked around at the Imperium and was like, "The fuck is this?"
Mm.
Um, he's not super happy. Um, he went to the Imperial Palace to visit the Emperor in the Golden Throne and spoke to him, apparently.
Yeah.
No idea what happened there because it wasn't mentioned, because obviously they wouldn't. But he became Lord Commander of the Imperium, basically the master of the Imperium.
Yeah.
And has now launched the Indomitus Crusade to try and help the Imperium pull itself back together after, the whole rift thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there you go. And it's important. One important thing to note is, like, the Space Marines are like a really good weapon for the Imperium and stuff. They're pretty independent.
Yeah.
They're essentially only the only aspect of the Imperium that don't believe the Emperor is a god.
Well, because, like, they know better from their Primarch who hung out with him.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and also, like, they're super loyal to the Emperor.
yeah.
But the thing is like, a lot of people think that Space Marines are the most religious and most kind of, they kind of come off that way because
Fanatical.
they're like, for the Emperor. They're very fanatical. They just don't think he's a god, and it's not really mentioned. It doesn't really come across. So a lot of people are like, wow, Space Marines are super zealous, and it's like, yes, but not religious zealous, like
Mm.
they don't believe that.
Yeah, when you say zealot, it's more religious, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, hmm.
but they probably are more loyal. Oh well, yeah,
More loyal.
they're pretty loyal. The ones that are remained,
Yeah.
I guess, for the most part. Sometimes they go chaos. It happens.
I saw some Chaos Space
Um,
Marines today.
but yeah, essentially, in closing,
Mhm.
it's possible that he is turning into a literal god.
Yeah. I mean, if enough of them, I don't want to say if enough of them believe it, but like, there's a few ways that could happen, right? So,
Yeah, it's it's very, very possible that the Emperor still wants the Imperium to have a chance, so he hasn't like just kind of let go and been like, yeah, okay, it's time to
yeah.
die. It's hard to tell because he can't talk and he can't act, and people can't,
What if Gilliman was able to talk to him?
Yeah, did he? Who
Did
knows?
he? Did he just lie? Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's hard to tell. And also Gilliman has a connection, and
Yeah.
you know, uh,
Be distracting someone chattering at you whilst you're
yeah,
trying
while
to
you're
sort
kind
stuff
of
out.
like trying to hold back the waves of chaos and demons and everything. Uh, there are times when things will happen that are unexplainable or very coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that he has the ability now either to use his psychic, maybe if he's getting stronger, he might be able to use his psyker abilities to like reach out and affect things.
Okay, like miracles and
Well, like psyker abilities, so he
yeah.
can, flip a switch or whatever.
Oh, fun.
But it's also possible that he's slowly becoming a god because people believe in him enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before.
Which means that those coincidences or like influences he's doing are actually miracles. And yeah.
Awkward. He would be so mad if he woke up and he was a god, though. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I specifically told you no.
So
So,
there you go.
there we
That
go.
is the basics of the emperor and all of his kind of like his history. Like he hasn't been active for 10,000 years aside from just maintaining things as they are. Very
Yeah.
useful for a setting like 40k.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll sort of turn up in the future of us. Future.
I think if Games Workshop are gonna do anything,
Hmm.
it's very likely that the arrival of Yanid
Yeah.
and the Yanari will coincide with some forming of the Emperor as like an antagonist.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
Which I think it will essentially see. Most likely, what will happen is it would be the rise of the Necrons as the threat.
No, they're not a threat. They're the bestest.
I mean, like they're all asleep. If they wake up, they're going to be a massive fucking threat,
They
and
are.
they
It's
all
gonna be
want to.
good.
They want to control the galaxy and kill
Well.
life. And,
Well.
So if that happens, then I think the Emperor is going to rise as a chaos god inside the warp.
Oh,
And
no.
he's effectively going to neutralize the other chaos gods for a while, like fighting.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. And then later on, that allows him to do whatever.
I think he's just gonna come out off the throne and go start crumping with some orcs.
I think the other possibility is he becomes a chaos god and essentially like subdues the other chaos gods and leads them as a king, and that will cause the Necrons and probably the rest of the majority of the rest of the
Galaxy, universe.
galaxy, the factions to essentially go like, hey, hang on a second.
That's not on.
Yeah. Like everyone else, the majority of everyone else will be like, hey, let's form an alliance because we're about to get murdered by superhuman demon gods. And the orcs will be like, oh, fun fight.
Too much consistency, wouldn't it? It'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's too much. Too
Yeah.
much.
One other piece of like interesting info, which we may talk about more in the Tyranid episode, but Tyranids have always ignored chaos.
Yeah.
Because they're just, they're not biomass. They're just like immaterium.
They just don't care. Yeah.
And the Tyranids form like a shadow in the warp, essentially because of they're not they're not a soul. The majority of them are just like essentially biological automatons.
Can they eat a demon like that's been coalesced in the actual universe rather than in the warp? Because
Well, one interesting thing is that they didn't used to pay any attention to chaos.
oh no.
There's a very specific hive fleet that has started hunting and looking for chaos.
Oh no. Someone had a demon snack and now they want some more.
Who knows? that I haven't looked into it yet because I haven't like this is something that happened more recently. I'm not up on recent lore until I research it. So
I'm looking forward to the Tyranids, but they're not for a while, so
I was gonna say, well, next month is not your lucky
no.
month because we're doing Tau.
Let's I'll show you off the model really quick, but then
Yeah.
here he is at the end. I got all the base colors done. There's still highlights, lowlights, detailing.
I mean, that's a really nice base, like,
Yeah, it's
setup.
looking really good. Like he's still got his medals to do. The medals and the grenade are the only like blank bits and the snow, but that's going to be last. So,
Mm.
that will keep me busy in the near future. But thank you very much, Sheepy, for talking to us about the Emperor. I didn't want to feel bad for the Emperor because he's mean.
Do you
And
feel bad for the Emperor?
a little bit, like he sat on this chair and his sons have betrayed him, even though he was a dick. Um,
He brought a lot of it on
he
himself.
did, but it doesn't mean it still doesn't suck for him.
He did he did make a pretty big sacrifice.
Yeah,
I think like it's not unfair. It's not silly to feel bad for him.
it's a
It
little
really
bad.
it really depends how things play out.
Like, he could have just let all, the Imperium of Man and mankind and Earth just die. And, like,
Unless it turns out that he knew that he could become a chaos god by doing all of this shit.
it's too Uno Reverso card for me right now.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like once we find out, once it's revealed actually what he's been doing and why and what his plan was, then it's much more like, oh, okay, now I feel bad for him because he was actually being self-sacrificey, or okay, fuck that guy, like he wanted to become a chaos god.
Yeah,
So,
we'll have to
we'll
wait
see.
and see. But thank you everyone for watching these episodes with it's the Red Gobbo and Bouncer model and recap about the Emperor. Thank you again to the patrons who make this possible. We have
Yeah,
Ian, Mark, particularly Money, Damned Man, Ramona, V Mushroom, Retrograde Vector, Azean, and Grey Blue One. So thank you very much for that. If you enjoyed the show and you want to support it, check it out on Patreon at patreon.com/40,000layers. There are exclusive posts for everyone. They're exclusive podcasty style episodes.
we talk about the Space Marine chapters
Yes.
in like little podcasty episodes, which are um they have their own little appeal to them because you're not painting, and we have a bit more kind of like
There's not more back and forth where I'm not having to
yeah.
concentrate as hard because we'll talk about it, but then I will paint separately and I sync it up. So the first one is already out, which is Magnus and the Thousand Suns, synced with Vortimus from the Eyes of the Nine set. I have another one that is uploaded and I just need to post it, which is the Slith model with the salamanders. And we have also recorded the World Eaters. So I've got some painting to do, and hopefully soon we will hit the next $25 goal.
Or hopefully not, so that you have time to do it.
Yeah, I will paint. I just like
No, I'm just saying, like if we now hit 75 on the Patreon, then we have to rush to get it out because it's not quite ready yet.
You don't have to rush. You've already done your bit of work.
Well, no, but then we'd have to record another podcast episode.
No, we've got one spare. Like that's the World Eater.
Oh, no, yeah, we've got one spare, but then we need another one spare because we need to keep up.
Oh my god, the preparedness. He's worrying about one. I'm not even ready about
like,
this one. I'm
I'm
not even ready for this one.
You've seen the Patreon. You've seen the patrons we already have. They literally tie every single vote.
Hey, the Tau won quite solidly. So next
Well,
month.
that's because I had to shout at them for an episode, and
Ow.
I literally
Sorry,
said
camera.
to them, I said to them, you tied this, so I'm just gonna talk about the Emperor instead. Fuck your vote.
Well, January is the Tau, and February is going to be the Tyranids. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah.
And then after that,
we'll open up the voting again. There'll be a whole load of subjects we can go into.
I'm hoping for the Mechanicus.
I'm tempted not to put them in straight away.
Oh, just to be mean?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, that's so horrible. But yeah, let's wrap up. Thank you very, very much for watching, for listening. Thank you, Sheepy, for all the information. Thank you, me, for painting. And let us know what you think. We will hopefully see you again next time. Bye. Bye. Are you going to say bye?
Bye. Who am I saying goodbye to?
Okay.